Kesselring's chief of staff and somebody else. And the chief of staff said, if the Allies had kept on going, they could have been in Rome by the first day. So then we just bogged down. We had to stop. And then the Germans could bring in the big guns, heavy artillery, I think it was 40 millimeter gun, in the mountains on the other side of the beachhead. And we lost 7,000 men killed on that beachhead because of goddamn stupidity. Clark was interviewed on the same channel sometime later, and he made some remark about we had to consolidate the beachhead. Why hell you? It was at least one thing Clark did. In 1940, they came out with this field jacket. It was a flimsy damn thing and a piece of crap. And we got to the beachhead, and it came in very handy. And I still have mine, by the way.
You have everything.
I had saying the British fight for king and country, the Germans fight for the fatherland, and the American fights for souvenirs. I still have I never lost my steel helmet. I still have it. I have a jumpsuit I took home. I did get a nice prize in Germany. I got a Rheinmetall Borsig typewriter.
Wow.
All the exposed parts are chrome plated. And it was packed. I thought it was packed very well, but I guess they dropped it off the crane or something. And I left it on the pier in New York. I still have my Air Corps sleeping bag. I was issued one of the first new 45s, the A1, with the arch housing. And I had it. I stayed in the reserve component, and so I had that in my issue gun. And then after I retired, I gave it to the State Museum because it was, and I had a bunch of boots. I gave one pair of boots to a couple of museums, and then I'm going to give I have two left. I'm going to give one to the State Museum, and that one is an heirloom. That's not going anywhere. That is sacred.
In one of your interviews, you mentioned leading patrols to get prisoners.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Well, you just have to find them and bring them in.
I mean, how do you just go, knock on a foxhole and say, you want to come be a prisoner?
It's different than that. If you could get close enough to, and they weren't paying attention too much to what's going on, you just go up there and you steal come with me, and that was it. It was mostly luck. If you got these people.
Did you ever have soldiers who would rather be shot than be taken prisoner?
The what?
Did you ever have soldiers, Germans, who would rather not be taken prisoner and would, be killed?
No, yeah, there were a few. Toward the end of the war, they were coming in droves because they didn't want to be captured by the Soviets.
Right.
The Nazis were stupid. They were welcomed as liberators. And Stalin had directly or indirectly been responsible for the deaths of over 50 million Russians. And let me
Unbelievable.
tell you,
Yeah.
there was no trouble getting Soviets in there. Jesus. So you may say, well, what about the executive who led the command of the rear echelon? I said, the reason I'm not talking about him, he goes in, he would get down to he was a nut. He was from Texas. And he wanted his damn coffee. Well, it wasn't easy to get, and we weren't even getting enough of the ration. He would go to the supply room at night and break open the field rations and take the coffee out. And by the time you were going to on an operation, there was no coffee for the guys.
Oh, gee.
He was a wacko, and the one thing that really frosted my ass. We were stationed near a British airborne outfit, and the British airborne outfit, and all British organization is very simple. The company's commander's rank is major, so this major used to this guy would come over and shoot the breeze of them, and I was just in the headquarters for something else, and they were having a conversation, and they started somehow. The conversation got around to these right-wing outfits in England, and this guy named Mosley. He was a traitor, for Christ's sake, and he got to a certain point about things and anti-Semitic activities, and the son of a bitch stands there, and his big fat face hanging out. He said, "I'd like to shoot a Jew." I always carried a gun, and I just reached down and just made a point of pulling the slide back and putting one in the chamber. I should have written the IG on that one. They were in the headquarters. Some of these guys were planning they had in all these plans. There was an American and a British, and some American brass hat, high rank, made a crack about limeys, and he was relieved of his position, and Anyway, I was slightly pissed off. But,
did you encounter any anti-Semitism from the American troops?
No. I had I don't know how he knew or how he guessed, but I was in Rome one day, and there was this drunken American lieutenant on this bridge, and he made some modestly some crack, and it wasn't the worst thing in the world, but that was about it. I was relentless. But anyhow,
where are we going next?
Huh?
Where are we going next?
Where have we? Oh, we've been to Anzio.
Anzio, yes.
And Anzio. Okay, Anzio. I remember going in to see the the colonel. I said, we're going into southern France. Yeah, we're going to southern France. And as you know, because we weren't part of the plan, I didn't make the first two jumps in North Africa. And then I said I hadn't, I was still in North Africa grabbing C-47 and loading these guys, and now we're coming into southern France, and I think I should be with you. He said, no, I have another assignment. I can't trust anybody else with it. So yeah, it was something like that. And you'd have thought me, just a dumb lieutenant, that he would, Yarborough, not Yarborough, this guy from Texas would said, I have a number of Jews in this outfit, and they are damn fine soldiers, and they're doing their job, and you want to express those kind of sentiments. We ran into some of the Israeli people there, the Haganah, and Jesus, they were tough bastards. Made me feel good. And then we went to southern France. I came in about 2 days later on the ship. I had a lot of equipment I had to bring in and so forth. And I remember Bill Sullivan, we had invasion money, which meant you could spend some of that money. And so there was a gin mill operating on the main drag. And so we were sitting there gulping down the best scotch in the world. What I don't know, 50 francs a shot. And it was very good. One thing I thought was great. Mussolini did not take part in the Holocaust. He was a miserable piece of shit. But to give the guy credit for just one thing, he did not take part in the Holocaust. So I talked to, we talked to a lot of refugees in there. They said, yeah, the Italians helped us escape, or they helped us do this, they hit us and so forth. And it was tremendous. And we got into, I think there was Rosh Hashanah came up. And no, that was in but we talked to refugees, and we talked to other people, and they told us that the Italian actually helped Jews escape, and I remember I went to the infantry school for the advanced course in 51, and there were 2 Italian officers, and they told us all about what was going on there. And one of the officers took me and said, yes, I'm Jewish. And he said as soon as the Salerno invasion started, he deserted right away, he surrendered to the British. Then we were pulled up. We were supposed to go to the Hercules Forest operation.
Oh boy!
And we were sidetracked because we were sidetracked for the Ardennes campaign. And I personally, we were attached to this 25th Division. It was a new outfit. There were a bunch of, they were in the middle of the fight. They had a big tent up there, and they were having a mess for the staff officers, tie, shirt. And I met Major General Maurice Rose.
Yes.
He was my kind of guy. Hard-nosed son of a bitch. And he was another guy that led from up front. I reported him personally, and we had our guys on the road. They sent the open trucks for the guys, and they sit in the rain and freeze to death. And one of our company officers said something about, sir, our men haven't slept in 24 hours. And Rose, my men have not slept in 48 hours. You're fresh troops. End of discussion. he was, you know, he was my kind of guy. You know what I mean? He was there for several things, one of which was vengeance. And Jesus Christ.
Was it Maurice Rose who looked?
What?
Was it Maurice Rose? Did he lose a son in the war?
He might have. I do not know that. But he's from Middletown.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I am going to see if I can get one of those road signs up there. Major General Maurice Rose Highway.
Sure.
I got to do that. God damn it. He was my guy. He was killed in March. Eisenhower had this crazy plan to push the Germans back on a broad front, which what the hell was the name? What the hell was that general that got all that publicity? Patton, for all his eccentricities, knew what he was doing.
Yes.
Except the time he tried to rescue his son-in-law from a German prison camp, lost everybody. And he said, no, what you should do here is surround them and squeeze them in. Then they got no place to go. And they wouldn't listen. And so anyway, but he was killed leading, I mean, really honest to Pete, leading. And when he got there, and anyway, Rose was up in the front leading. He ran into a tank and they shot him down. But he was the kind of guy I liked.
So now you're in the Battle of the Bulge at Manhay, was it?
Yeah, we got ordered by phone. There'll be a truck for to pick you up at 2:00 in the morning, and you'll be in such and such. So our CEO Yarborough had been sent back from southern France to go to Command General Staff College. He's on his way up. He went home, by the way, on these orders. First thing he did, he called my mother in Hartford and said I was all right. Huh. When I got promoted to colonel, he sent me his own wings, his own eagles to wear. Oh. Anyway, so we met, and then we were actually in combat at I didn't know till years after I graduated law school, one of my classmates, Howard Werner, was in the mortar platoon, 4.2-inch chemical mortar, and he was in that outfit, and he was supporting us when we wiped out this SS regiment, kicked the shit out of them, and we obeyed the Geneva Convention. Now, some of you say, well, yeah, we should have done that. Yes, but there were enough of our people in their prison camps who could put our guys in some very bad reprisals. So I had a chance to put on a little psycho warfare. We had, we picked up one of these 20mm quad 4 anti-aircraft guns. And we goes up and we get in there, and one day we shot a German aircraft down, and I sent my patrol out to bring him in. Stubborn son of a bitch. We had to find out where the airfield was so we could blow up his airfield. He was a very stubborn son of a bitch. So I said to my interrogator, and most of our interrogators were refugees who come into our areas, surrendered, and they knew the language. Not just them, but they knew the slang terms, and they knew the geography. So a guy says to you, "Oh, I live on Dockenboro."
Yeah.
You're a lying son of a bitch. We don't have any such
Yeah.
street name.
So you
So
mean an interpreter, not
Yeah.
an interrogator? Were you the interrogator?
Well, we had. I didn't
Oh.
make that distinction.
Oh, so he wasn't just an interpreter. He was actually doing the interrogation.
Oh, I see what you
okay.
mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I told my interrogator, "You tell this shithead who and what I am." He says to the crowd, "The Oberleutnant Isai Yuda." I thought this guy was going to shit. It was a great moment. Then I captured an SS guy in Belgium, and he didn't know that we were observing the Geneva Conventions. He didn't know that. So I made the son of a bitch crawl for his life. Jeez, that felt good. And then we had two fights. Trois Ponts.
Oh yes, okay.
Trois Ponts and oh God, what the hell was the other one? Oh, Trois Ponts.
Not 12 years.
Huh?
12 years? The 3 versions?
No, Trois Ponts. I got it written down somewhere.
Manhay?
Huh?
Manhay?
No, that's where we met the general, the Manhay Crossroads.
Okay.
I'll have to get that.
Okay, well that's all right.
Yeah. And he okay, all right. On May 29th, we crossed the Elbe River. That was they had saved every damn bullet and shell that they had, and they had these mines. There were 75 pounds of explosive on the riverbanks, and one of the trucks went over the mine. The truck was blown up in the air. The guy was blown up. He came down, and he was that far from the truck when it hit the ground, and it was a hell of a guy. And
he was killed.
No, who?
The truck driver or the guy?
No, he wasn't.
Oh, he wasn't.
No, the truck missed him by about.
Oh.
So we made the river crossing okay, and my sergeant got himself a box of 200 Dutch cigars, and we also found in one of the houses a case of 24 bottles of Mount Vernon Square Rye whiskey. There was so much booze the Germans had hidden away there that the British couldn't drink it all. They could drink anything on it. And so we were going from the Rhine River to the Elbe River to get set up for the Elbe River crossing. And we'd come to a town, and we'd find a nice looking house. Told the German, "Oh, you have 30 minutes to get the hell out of this house. Start moving." And we want some clean linen out, and take the stuff off the bed now and burn it. And and then I forget whether before and after we then had I don't remember whether we crossed the river first, and then anyway we crossed the river, and we took the two towns. Uh, I I can't remember. Uh, anyway, then the German 21st Army surrendered to our regiment, and I had the pleasure of taking these generals to the prison camp, and I just treated them with absolute contempt. You know, it just really, and where was I?
But why did you treat them with contempt? I mean, was it with anger or hatred?
Well, I hate the bastards. Jesus, I hate the bastards. Then my scouts, after we had crossed the river, uh, my scouts was on May 2nd, 45, and they located this concentration camp. It was the Ludwig. It was the concentration camp in Ludwigslust. I forget the exact name of the camp.
Right, the name is in your previous interview, so that's okay.
What interview was that?
Your letter to Eileen. It was you like a memoir, a 12-page memoir. When you in 2006, you did an interview with the Veteran History Project.
Oh yeah,
And you had like a long letter that you wrote.
Yeah.
And I don't know who Eileen is. Who is Eileen?
Irene was a student at Iowa State College, and I just got her name by chance. They had these clubs for students that didn't want to hang around with the fraternities, and she was telling me that she was if you run across my uncle, and he was a Seventh Army commander, I remember, and I actually did run across him. I thought she was BSing me, but he was inspecting the troops, and he would ask everyone, where you're from, where'd you do before you in the Army? And I told him, sir, Miss so-and-so. Oh, yes, my niece, yes. Oh, that's what it was, yeah.
So that's where I got the name of I can get the name of the concentration camp from that. I can get the concentration camp from that.
Yeah. And what the hell?
So the two battles in the Ardennes, the 12 points.
Yeah.
What were they like? I mean, were you actively involved in the fighting?
No, we had to get to town because we had to get through it. That was, as we were moving along, and we got wiped out in those two fights, what popped my cork more than anything else at the concentration camp is I went into a warehouse, and there was a warehouse there, and thousands and thousands and thousands of pairs of wooden clogs worn by inmates who have been worked and starved to death. So I was tearing the office apart, looking at a list of people, names, and stuff like that, and the commandant's wife got all bent out of shape. So I told my interviewer, you tell this fat slob, he didn't shut her goddamn mouth. I'm going to cut her throat. I happen to have a knife on me. And she shut up. And that was about it.
Oh, and the townspeople too.
Huh?
About having the townspeople come into the camp.
Oh yeah. Gavin was there. He came out. He was somewhere else. He made tracks over immediately. He made the townspeople march. It was about five miles out to the camp and examine the bodies that were there and everything else. And everywhere we went there up in that we were Villan, Aldiabel, and the whole group of towns, and it was the same everywhere with the farmers. And we didn't know what was going on. Here they had a strap with cut in nine tails, and they were used to beat the laborers with. They did like hell. They did. They were making money out of it too. And this was funny. We hit one farmhouse. I had about maybe 3 or 4 jeeps loaded of guys with me, and it was empty. But there was on the stove. There was still a pot of boiling water, and a pot of boiling water, and a big brownstone crock full of fresh eggs. So I looked at my sergeant, and he looked at me, and I said, and he started in. We had boiled eggs and soft boiled eggs and over easy, the whole, it was great. So I decided I stunk to high heaven, so I'm going to have a bath or wash up, and then so I started stripping down, and then I said, well, hey, I'll have a shave while I'm doing it. So I started to lather up. So I'm standing there half naked, and another convoy comes roaring in the yard, and had a big red plate on it with a silver star. And it was the assistant division commander. I've got his name written down on this. Brigadier General Ira P. Swift was it? Ira P. Swift. And hard-nosed son of a bitch. And he comes in and he gets out of the Jeep. Who's in charge here? I am, sir. And you are Lieutenant Katz, or S2505. Yeah. What's going on? Well, the gimmick is you have to look at your watch. Yes, sir, we're ahead of schedule here. We're going to meet Colonel Ranyahavi. And when I realized he's not buying my little explanation. And then all of a sudden, I see he started to grin. He says, carry on, and took off. But the best one I pulled off, the base section commander in Paris was a son of a bitch named Evans, Major General Evans. Miserable bastard. The war to him was a chance to steal a lot of furniture and stuff like that, and he would set up things, and then he would gig people that didn't have these parts or something like that, because he wouldn't issue them. So he made the mistake of tangling with Major General Ira P. Major General anyway, this General Iron Mike O'Daniel was sending his combat frontline people back to Naples from the Anzio Beach, and give them a couple of days R&R. And So Evans gets his MPs to pick these guys up getting off the LST, tear up their pastors, lock them up for the weekend, and then send them back to Anzio.
Hmm.
O'Daniel gets wind of this. He didn't go through any goddamn. He went right up to General Mark Clark. I don't know exactly what Clark said to Evans, but something to the effect of he just picked the phone right up with O'Daniel in the room. Something to the effect, knock it off, and that was all of us to it. So we came back through that area to the redeployment camp, and we were sending guys from the redeployment camp called Oklahoma City, the mud hole out there, and give the guys some time in Paris. They'd earned it. So he had these roving patrols, these guys who were not assigned anywhere. And they pick a guy up, and they had these drumhead court-martials at street corners, and they court-martialed a guy. He was a soft hat through shoulder thing, buttons unbuttoned here, and it was all the same thing: guilty, forfeit, reduce a rank of private, the whole damn thing. So we're in the office. By that time, I was personnel officer because I could read English, and it was messy, cold, crappy, and the fire was dying out. And we get this package from Sane Bay Section, and we open it up. It's court-martial records. Christ, our old-time sergeants and all this kind of stuff. So we sat there and I looked at Joe Prout. He looked at McInerney, and I looked at Mac, and I nodded, and we started to throw the court-martial records in the fire. And they burned until 2 o'clock in the morning. And we forgot about it. So we get to Le Havre, and we get to Le Havre, there's a letter. You have not replied by endorsement to certain court-martial records, blah, 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 blah. So I wrote back through channels, and I said, no record of this headquarters, any such records, and that was it. And we sent it back through channels. So by the time they got back to sending another letter out, we were already halfway home on the Queen Mary. A very satisfying experience.
Did you suffer from any after effects like post-traumatic stress or?
No, not really. We did have one experience. We were able to get some training material, including a couple of C-47s. We were in Boufarik, Algeria, and we were doing some interim jump training. And these are packed by the riggers. And I hit the door, and everything seemed to be all right, but I couldn't get my head off. And I looked at it, and the lines were all twisted. So I have guys call. I'm going by these guys and pull your reserve, which I did. It didn't do any good. And eventually the parachute opened, and we got near the ground, and I realized 2 panels are separated, and I managed to get down. I hit hard, and what happened was the parachute was effective. It ripped this whole panel. 2 panels ripped it out. So that was it. And I remember the rigging sergeant McLaney running over me. Okay, Lieutenant, you're jumping in the next stick. here's your parachute, there's your plane. That was like falling off a horse. You got to do it again right away. So that was it. And about the time I was released from extended active duty, these nightmares started to hit me. They weren't violent, but it was the same thing. The parachute wouldn't open.
Mm-hmm.
And these went on for some years.
Wow.
And eventually I met this very lovely girl. And with her, how would you express it? She, with the emotional satisfaction that she was taking care of the nightmares went away in a very short period of time. Other than that, the memories, yes, I can't do a damn thing about them. They're there, they're going to stay there, and there's not a damn thing I do about it.
And one other thing, your Bronze Star. Did you get Bronze Star with a cluster? You got the Bronze Star. The Bronze Star medal.
Oh, yeah.
How did you get that?
Oh, yeah, they mailed it to me.
No, I know they mailed it to you, but I mean, what did you do to earn it?
I had about 3 jobs on the Anzio beachhead. One of which was graves registration. We'd have to go out at night to the Ford area, pick up the bodies.
Oh.
I also was up forward as S2 during the daytime, and the S3 and I came under shelling, and one shell landed very close to both of us, and he was killed. And I also conducted patrols. I would not send a patrol out. I wouldn't send people out unless I had the guts to do it myself. And all these things combined, and I was put in for the Bronze Star, and I got that. And then I got the, what do you call it?
The cluster?
Cluster for the Elbe River crossing. But the one I think is the most important is the Combat Infantryman badge.
Oh, okay, yes. Yeah, a lot of people hold that in reverence.
There was an interesting story about the when you encountered soldiers with a long coat and you weren't sure who they were.
Oh, yeah.
You should tell them that.
Let's go back to Belgium.
Okay, let's.
We were in a situation where if no one else were around, the commander would take a staff officer and say, okay, you take those 2 guys and do such and such. So we were still in Sadzio, and there were SS people in the woods south of Sadzio. And commander at that time was Eddie Tomasic. He was a long time non-commissioned officer, and he as soon as the war broke out, his commission was activated, and so question was, were the woods clear, or they still have a crowd there? And he started. I was with a guy named Harry Pritchett, who was quite a guy. He was one of that class of 90, a class of 4. The academy class he was in was cut short because they needed company grade officers. And we went down this road, and we ran across an American tank that was full of holes, and body was still in the turret. And we went down the road and we saw people in the woods. Now, the rough test in those days was if you saw a guy with a long overcoat, he was going to be a German. They had these long overcoats. And these guys were wearing long overcoats. So we brought up and hid behind a log. Harry had a submachine gun, I had a carbine. And figured we had to fight it out, we'd fight it out. So, we had a good position, and we were all loaded up and took off the safety, and we were actually squeezing the trigger.
Hmm.
We were all set, and all of a sudden, the sky lightens up, the clouds part, and just, I can't tell you what, a miracle maybe, I don't know. And the place lit up so we could see them clearly, and the guys were wearing the red keystone. That would be the 28th Infantry Division, the federalized Pennsylvania Army National Guard. We managed to sneak away. Now you say, well, yeah, maybe, but they could have been German. At some veterans function, and I'm having a drink at the bar with some guy, and we got to talking about the common denominator, the war, and he was in the 28th Division. He was in the fight at Sadzo. He was in a group that was patrolling. They were wearing long overcoats. No question. I'm having a drink with a guy I damn near killed. Maybe I wouldn't have reported, but I would have known it.
Yeah.
And that's something I wouldn't want to live with. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Now, what about that, the Jewish service that you went after you crossed the Elbe with the Soviet soldiers?
Yeah. We went into Berlin with occupation duty. All the brass, wanted to go to Japan to get brownie points on the register. And it was going to be if we had gone into southern France, if we had gone into Japan, as some of these guys wanted to do, it would have been a bloodbath. So we finally won the war, and we went to Berlin for occupation duty. And we were in a place called the Schlachtensee in Berlin. Now, by arrangement with the major religions, chaplains were trained to serve as chaplains and minister to all faiths. And so the Berlin district military chaplain was a rabbi. So he went through all the names to make sure that the troops would be able to go to services for Rosh Hashanah. And he comes across my name, and he gets in touch with me and he says, you're going to have the first Aliyah. And, it was fascinating. Half the congregation was Soviet soldiers. they let them go to the service. Of course, they had the secret police to make sure they didn't go beyond that. And I did it. I did a nice job, I thought. And as a result of that, I brought the story up to our ritual committee chairman at the synagogue, and I've been getting the first Aliyah ever since at the Emmanuel, and it was exciting. You know, I'm not trying to be a historian, but I can imagine how Judah Maccabee must have felt, and they just kicked the shit out of the Syrians, and he had that, you know, his father had been killed by the Syrians, and here he is. You know,
And you had said something about that service that the chaplain asked you to be. I don't know what it was, but it had to do with your heritage. That you were a co.
yeah, well, he knew that. He would.
But I didn't know that. Tell me what.
All right, I am a direct descendant of Aaron, the brother of Moses.
That's what it was. Yes.
I have certain things I cannot do. I cannot walk upon a cemetery. If there is a place where you have to walk, then they put a mat, artificial substance on that. And the one of the things I do is I'm entitled to the first Aliyah when they do the Torah reading.
To the first what? You're entitled to the first what?
It's called an Aliyah.
Oh, Aliyah. Okay.
Honor. And I get that.
Did you know that you're descended from Aaron?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
It was very exciting. All
right.
I'm a cousin though, because he's not my father.
Right. Okay. Yes.
They're cousins.
All right. So
these guys were my first family. I was a swain and bachelor. I used to go to the military schools and active duty here, active duty there, for several reasons. One is to get promoted, and the other one would be is to keep active, and days of active duty are put into not a formula, but which should be calculated and add points up to your retirement. And I got a big retirement, and the medical, and thank God I stayed in the reserve, because the medical benefits are fantastic. My retirement benefits pay for my hip replacement, my what do you call it? Prostate surgery. And I've been in the hospital. I get medical treatment over at the Yukon Medical.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And my doctor is just retiring, Dr. Abraham, and he's a great doctor. You know, and covered my wife, of course.
And how long have you been married?
I think 59 years. Got a pen? I'm going to give you the exact. Let's see.
Or I can do it in my head.
Huh?
I can do it in my head. When were you married?
1964.
36,
No,
36.
2022 minus 1964.
So that's 36, 46, 56, 58 years.
58
Right.
years.
Yeah.
Wow.
And how did you meet your wife?
Hmm?
How did you meet?
I wanted to go to John Dempsey's inaugural. I just got my new dress blues, Army dress blues. And I'd just been dumped by some girl, thank God. I got fixed up with this woman, gorgeous creature. Christ, we'd go out someplace, you could hear eyeballs clicking and everything else. And then I realized she had nothing inside her head but straw. And I didn't know how to get rid of her. And one night, I don't want to see you again. I said, good. But I want to go to the ball. So the Gerson, a couple of the Gerson brothers, my father and I have known Gerson for years, got me fixed up. And about a couple of days before the ball, Harold called me and said, so-and-so had to go back to Minnesota to see her mother or something. But I got a thought here. One of our clients has a pharmacist who works in this big pharmacy, and we got met up, and I called her, and we went to the ball, and we had a wonderful time. I was a bit slow. I've been so screwed around with women, I didn't know. And I woke up one morning and I said, I didn't say, a voice comes down from Mount Sinai, Morton Katz, you bloody damn jackass. This is the girl. Don't let her get away. And that's all I thought.
All right. Are we forgetting anything? Or are you just getting started?
Well, we're pretty much getting started.
You probably heard 1% of his stories.
I'm trying to think. So anyway, and this is part of my life, and I'm going to add a few things here which I think are worthwhile adding. And I had been up for promotion about 8 or 9 times, and this was sent to the wrong headquarters. This was lost. The plane crashed. And, all this crap. And I was about to say, you had a choice whether you wanted to stay in the reserve or not. Now, officers were not discharged. Officers were released from extended active duty. And I was within a hair's breadth of saying, "Oh, the hell with it, I've had enough of it." I found out that if you have a certain, if you had an overall rating above a certain figure, you would automatically get a one jump promotion. I said, hey, why not? So I signed, so I said, did, and I was promoted to captain, and I wound up having a command of a reserve unit, and that was it. And I was promoted in the same day my firstborn child came along, and so I got the promotion immediately to captain and stayed. It worked out great, and I retired out of the Pentagon had a Mob Des appointment with one of the major agencies there. And my son-in-law, my first son-in-law, is involved with, I don't know, he rebuilds them or he repairs them. He said the government computers are crummy and they're put in wrong and they're a piece of crap. He said he spent not every day, but he spent about 6 months doing the computers in Florida because that also the computer system controls the telephone company. So he's in he was down there at the agency is now in Bowling Field, and he was down there a couple of years ago. It was the 50th anniversary of the agency, and he got me a crystal mug with the insignia on it and a hat and so forth. And while the girl was putting it into a bag in the sales store, he said, I'm buying this for my father-in-law, Colonel Morton Katz. And the man at the other end of the store said, I know that name. It was a guy who was one of my analysts in the 1960s. Very fascinating and very... But you gotta be tough to stick it out. You go to, annual training and stuff like that, and I don't care what you are or anything, but you're treated like shit at summer camps. I had where was I? I was at Fort Devens, I think, and we were getting our headquarters. And this sergeant, regular Army sergeant, where's my work party? And I stood this guy up, and I let him have it. I was really pissed off. But I had a good experience there. My first day of duty, I was being stationed at Arlington Hall Station. I was there on Friday, and I ran over an MP sergeant and 2 patrol sergeants. And they didn't know where the hell the place was. And I found out where it was later on. But it was a good duty. And as I say, I'd be in tough shape of a word for that. Anyway, and I came back, and when I came back, I didn't know what I was doing, and I took a trip around the country. One thing I had to do was I promised another guy. We made a deal that if one of us didn't make it back, the survivor would go to see the family. Well, I did how to do it for Bing, and
he didn't make it back.
He didn't make it back. They went into southern France, and they came in over the Gulf of Saint-Tropez, and they hadn't issued to these guys they hadn't issued these parachutes you could take off quickly. You pull the safety clip out, push a button, the whole thing falls off. So when this webbing gets wet, it gets tight. You can't get out of it. So he was killed in southern France. And I went back to Iowa, and I ran into my major professor. And he said, you have to come back and get your PhD and so forth. So I came back, and I, just for the hell, I put in for a minor in chemical engineering, and I did better than I had done before, and I did so good, I got a teaching fellowship. after a while, I realized that I hated the damn research, but I liked teaching because I was working with people. So I went over to the VA, and they have very good VA, what do you call it? Counselors who take care of these and they gave these examinations for it, and so we got through the day of the of these exams. He said, "My advice to you is get the hell out of here. You have no interest whatsoever and no aptitude for science or chemistry or anything else." And I went in, I resigned my whatchamacallit. You could go to law school without having to take an SAT if you had also gone to the undergraduate at UConn. And I graduated law school with honors, and not made $1 million, but it was the place I should have been.
And what was it like when you went to the family of your friend who you made that deal with?
It was tough. I couldn't tell them exactly what happened. I mean, Jesus, it's one thing that some stupid brass hat didn't issue the right equipment and so forth. Then they kept me there for the weekend. I went to church with them, and then I was leaving. He said, "I'd like you to meet somebody here at the courthouse." And turned out this lady there was a switchboard operator. And I didn't know that her son. I mean, you can't know everybody in these outfits. It's impossible. And her son was in the outfit. And he was killed at an off-road.
Hmm.
And you do what you can, but I wouldn't want to do it again. You just, what the hell can you say? So I made it a life change, and so I started out, and I got a lucky break in timing because I couldn't get a job in any law firm, and so I wanted to get into a unit so I get paid. And I went to the 76th Division, which is a training division, had just was getting a new tank company. So I went over to see the chief of staff. He said, "Well, if you go to the armored school, you'll give you the command of the." So I went to the armored school, and it was just before, while we were there at Fort Knox, the Korean War broke out.
Hmm.
And the other thing that was good was they gave single officers not only quarters, but they gave single officers a quarter's allowance on top of that. And I bought my first car. I'm 31 years old. I'm an officer in the Army, and this is the first chance I had to buy a car.
Which was?
Huh?
What kind?
Impala.
What kind of car?
A Chevy.
Chevy Impala, right?
The reason I got the car, I had my son-in-law Glass, your father,
Irving.
Irving Glass.